The tablet phone battle is upon us, and the two contenders are Korean companies. I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com. This is the LG Optimus G Pro. This is the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. Let's put them head to head in a dogfight and see which one comes out on top. It's the battle of the tablet phones, or the phablets, or whatever catchy word you use to describe these gigantic phones. It's two that are available in the US, or at least coming very soon. Now, this is the international version, but AT&T is getting this device, and it's very similar. AT&T's version versus the international version. Very similar, and it's coming soon to AT&T. The Optimus G Pro by LG coming to AT&T May 10th for $199, packs some great specifications, and brings LG into the smartphone space in the US in a major way. I hate that it's only available on AT&T. I think that kind of kinks up sales a little bit, as opposed to it being available on multiple carriers. But hey, you know what? A start is a start, so got to give them some credit there. Then you have the industry heavyweight, the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. It was announced at IFA 2012 in Berlin last year. This one, on the other hand, was announced at Mobile World Congress 2013 in Barcelona. This one's available, and I keep doing this a lot, I know, but this one's available on multiple carriers: AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, US Cellular, a bunch of different options here with this device. This one's only available on AT&T. Before we get too far into the dogfight battle, the head-to-head smackdown, I want to give some thanks to a couple different groups. First of all, special thanks to GSM Nation. They got us the unlocked version of the Optimus G Pro. They can be found online at gsmnation.com, and they've got some great deals on unlocked devices. So maybe you don't want an AT&T version. Maybe you want an unlocked Note 2. Take a look at gsmnation.com and take a look and see what you like, what they have, and hopefully you can fuse them together and make a buying decision at GSM Nation. Also, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile. They give us devices like the Note 2. We actually have quite a few of these right now for use in our free giveaway game at PhoneDog.com. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile reps are unbiased, so the good thing is you can go in there and say, you know what, I want a plan that looks like this. I want a phone that looks like this, and they'll help you find the best thing for you, whether it's AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, a Note 2, a tiny phone, an iPhone 5, whatever the case may be. They'll hook you up at Best Buy Mobile. So two tablet phones, and let's do a hardware rundown, then we'll talk about software, and in part two we'll go over camera, speed tests, and wrap it all up, cameras and more, wrap it all up and find out which one's going to be the dogfight winner again in part two. So talking about hardware really quickly here, we'll highlight the Optimus G Pro. This thing's packing a 1.7 gigahertz Snapdragon 600 CPU. It's a quad-core processor with a 5.5-inch 1080p HD display. So on the HD display front, beating the Galaxy Note 2's 720p display. Over here, 13 megapixel camera, better than the 8 megapixel camera, 3,140 milliamp hour battery, Android 4.1.2 with LG's user interface, and more. So from a specification standpoint, the Optimus G Pro beats the Note 2 in a lot of different ways. It's interesting here because when you saw the original Note and you saw the Note 2, if you remember the LG Revolution, it was the first kind of phablet device from LG, announced at Mobile World Congress in 2012, released on Verizon last year, and pretty late, right around when the Note 2 was coming out. And the question was, why would you buy that device when you can get a Note 2? This time around, they're hitting it, and they're hitting it hard. And this device, in a lot of ways, competes, and in some ways is even better than the Galaxy Note 2. Speaking of the industry heavyweight, the Galaxy Note 2, available on multiple carriers and packing a 1.6 gigahertz quad-core Exynos processor. You've got a 5.5-inch Super AMOLED HD display here, 720p, 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD recording, a 3,100 milliamp hour battery. I should point out that both of these are removable batteries, so you can take them out if you see fit. And I just realized this table kind of wobbles a little bit. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Anyway, Android 4, couldn't resist that song. Android 4.1 Jelly Bean here with Samsung's TouchWiz user interface, 4G LTE on your respective carriers in the US as well. This again is an international version if you're just tuning in. International version here, 4G LTE version coming very soon to AT&T. So different devices. The one thing I like about this, Samsung has fleshed out the software value adds very, very well with the Galaxy Note 2. So in a lot of ways, again, much like anything in this industry, it's a value add software-wise versus hardware-wise, and you've got to decide which one is more important to you. Talking again about hardware here, you got a shortcut button over here on the left side. You got a volume rocker over here on the left side as well. Micro USB charging port at the bottom, but design-wise very similar to each other. The Note 2 looks a lot like the Optimus G Pro and vice versa. Got a back button and a menu button, both capacitive, and a physical home button right here. Pressing and holding activates your recent applications. Double tap does nothing. See, press and holding back. And then I guess pressing and holding, there's our Google Now shortcut. That's what I was looking for. Power button over here on the right side. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up top, and then you got your camera on the back with 4G LTE. Now this is an SK Telecom device, so not 4G LTE bands that are capable in the US. But over here, volume rocker, power button on the right side, micro USB charging port at the bottom, and then you got buttons. They're reversed over here, but you got menu and back buttons, and then the physical home button here as well. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up top, and then camera on the back with an AT&T logo. And I should point out again, the AT&T version does have an AT&T logo right here as well. Not a texturized battery door, but you see this kind of pattern on the back as well. Whereas over here, you got kind of a pattern as well. It's hard to see in the camera, but it's got kind of a line look and feel to it, as you can see. Available in white with both of these devices. This one's black and this one is gray. So design-wise, very similar. The Note 2 is definitely a wider device to hold in the hand. This one's a little bit taller, it feels like, and a little bit narrower. So a little bit easier to hold in the hand and a bit easier to make phone calls with as well. Both have Android 4.1, and talking a little bit about the applications. Now I expect there to be plenty of AT&T applications out of the box. And I actually know there are plenty of AT&T applications because our very own Warren Bowman was in New York for the Optimus G Pro hands-on, and we saw some AT&T applications on this device. So ignore all the SK Telecom stuff here, but you can kind of get a look and feel for how LG's user interface works. Nothing too surprising here. Downloads and widgets all up here on the top, much like you would expect from previous versions of LG's user interface. But take a look at how fast this device is all around. I'm glad to see the Snapdragon 600 CPU here because this thing is fast all around. 2 gigs of RAM on both these devices, I should add, but no lag whatsoever. Very quick and speedy all around. So notification bar here, you've got your shortcuts up top, you've got your Q-Slide applications and a brightness area where you can customize the screen brightness from the notifications bar. Very similar over here as well. You've got your shortcuts up top, your date, of course, Android 4.1, real Android 4.1 look and feel over here to the top at least, and then your brightness area right here at top as well. Now you can't customize these in the Note 2 just yet like you can with the Galaxy S4, but you can customize these over here on the LG side. So let's say, sound profile, for example, I like to keep my phone on silent. Airplane mode, very important to me. Data enabled, you know what, I'm gonna turn it off when I roam, so that's very important. I can edit these and rearrange them and put these up here how I want them to be up. So maybe I don't need Q voice. Well, I can either lower Q voice or I can get rid of it entirely by unchecking it in the settings right there. So you can make this your own, and I love that level of customization. This is something LG's done really well at. It's something that Samsung has picked up on now with the Galaxy S4, where I can go in and customize the way that I want it to look as well. Q-Slide apps right here. We'll talk about Q-Slide in just a second, but Q-Slide is kind of LG's answer to Samsung's productivity stuff over here on the Note 2. And I can show you, for example, S Pen functionalities, where you got your Page Buddy that pops up. When I pull my pen out, you'll see that my Page Buddy pops up. And what Page Buddy is when you pull your S Pen out, for example, or you pull out, you're roaming, or you put in your headphones, it brings up this customized page and then brings up recommended shortcuts in the notifications bar. So I've got a couple of different options here. This is one of my favorites on the Note 2, the quick command, where I can send an email to Jane and say, I need copy, or whatever the case may be. Administrative assistant or executive, whatever the case may be, that's named Jane. I don't really have anybody in my family or anybody in my life or anybody in my job that's named Jane, so I'm not really sure where that came from. But note as well, so the S Pen is a nice function over here on this device. Great for taking notes in class, and the quad-core Exynos processor works pretty well on the Galaxy Note 2. Then over here you get some very similar productivity stuff as well. This shortcut button by default out of the box, you click it, it takes a screenshot, and you can draw on the screen and make it your own. You want to point something out, let's say, or point out this email to a friend. You can change the font, pen type, and the color. If you want to, you can send it, share it, save it, whatever you want to do with this, and then get rid of it as you see fit. So I can save that to my notebook, for example. And again, just take a look when I'm working with this, how fast this device moves. I am impressed with the speeds. I know I keep saying that, but it's pretty important considering LG's kind of been behind the curve, at least in their US devices, in recent memory. So really nice to see them getting up to speed on this. Nice to see them bringing out a nice high-end smartphone in the US. It's not something like the Lucid 2 or one of their mid-range devices. Here's what the settings look like. And we'll go back into customization stuff, or I'm sorry, S Pen type stuff in just a little bit, and maybe into part 2 as well. But I really want to cover some of these things also while we're thinking about them. Here's setting differences. You've got very much a Galaxy S4 type look and feel over here with the tabbed shortcuts up top, the sound display in general. This is all kind of lumped together with your off and on toggles. Home screen mode over here, and there are some customization choices on both of these devices that make them really cool. And one of my favorites is in messaging on both of these units. You can customize your messages. So I'll go in here, for example, and you can see I have, actually that's probably not the best example. Let's go into, did I delete it? Yeah, here it is, chat. And then I've got hello there right here. So you can see my background is this rain look, and I've got blue text bubbles. Well, you can customize them over here as well. You can go in here and change your background if you want to. Did I miss it? There it is, bubble style and background. So I can change around the way the text look and feel. I can change around the background if I want to, if I want a lighter background, let's say. Customize my text messaging look and feel, as you see right here. I'm just sending something for the sake of sending it. So you can see exactly what it looks like. And then over here, that is an invalid number. I know, AT&T, thank you for pointing that out. And you got the customization choices over here as well, and conversation skins where I can change it around and really make it a personal device with the look and feel, not just wallpapers anymore. Another LG thing I like a lot, you can customize the icon, so I can change my messaging icon to reflect maybe this, for example, or I can change my internet icon from an eye to a globe. And again, back to the customization thing, like that ability to do that. Not to mention wallpapers on this device as well are fantastic thanks to the 1080p HD display. Customization abounds over here. Continue with the lock screen and things like that. And you do have some of these choices over here, but lock screen options, really enjoy the information ticker, the shortcuts, the clocks, dual clock and weather. So I can put my weather on the home screen. I can make my ink effect different. Let's make it green, for example. And then camera quick access. And a lot of these things may be, or they may seem rather like gimmicks, but I happen to find this one particularly useful. Do not show again. Press and hold and turn the device to the side and it activates my camera. I always reset these devices usually before I start a dogfight, and I always forget all these little shortcuts and tips and tricks that pop up. And you saw me change it from blue to green. What that was referring to is the way the ink looks, as you can see when I do the nature effect. So pretty cool there. Can change that around to any different color you want to. So a lot of different personalization on both of these devices. In part 2, we'll talk about, or actually we'll talk more about personalization. We'll talk about some of the unique productivity features that make these devices cool, and then we'll round it out with camera and speed tests. Stay tuned for part 2 of the full dogfight.